Well, welcome and hello, everybody. Maria Romano here, True Love Knots. I am so excited, so excited, because I have a fabulous couple today as my guest on my platform, which I'm going to bring this to you, which is so cool. I actually have James and Becky. Well, you can pronounce it Zheng or Zheng, whichever, but technically. And these two are what I call a powerhouse couple. I had found them on Instagram. You know, we go stalking on Instagram, most of us, right? We like to see what everybody else is doing, and we're all guilty of that. But you know what intrigued me about both of you, which we'll get into, is you work together, which we know today. It's great to work with your spouse, your partner, whomever, but there's challenges. But also, too, I wanted to share with my community. I'm going to introduce both of you. I'm going to have them say hi. But I think it's important today because we need relationships. And I had a really interesting conversation, backstory about somebody that artificial intelligence is going to replace relationships. Hell no. I don't want to hear that, okay? Because there's nothing, we were made for touch. We were made for touch. We were made to be together. So good morning, virtual hugs, high fives. How are you guys doing?
Amazing. Awesome. It's an honor to be here and with your community. Anyone that follows this podcast is someone special because you understand the meaning of love and you want to really make an impact out there. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I am so excited. So a little bit about, let me just, I have your bio, a little bit about your backstory. Okay. So let's see if I can pull this up. Okay. So I can't do that, but I can do this. All right. So you are known as the Kingdom Business Coach, right? For 10 years. So James and Becky have helped entrepreneurs worldwide apply biblical success principles to so they can 10 times their results, which is so true. It's so important that we really maximize ourselves. And with less hustle, he draws from his extensive studies of personal achievements and biblical wisdom to help his clients breakthrough. But I love your mission is to help entrepreneurs cultivate the inner warrior. I love that word, warrior, through their spirit, mind, body, and business to positively impact their communities. He believes entrepreneurship is the greatest personal coach and impact tool that God's given us. When entrepreneurs grow and succeed, the world gets better. How true. Now, his beautiful wife, his partner right next to him, co-founded and runs the Warrior Movement organization that trains online entrepreneurs in health and wellness. Gosh, I mean, that is like so exciting when you think about that, what the both of you do. So I have a question. Did you major in theology, James? Tell me a little bit about the backstory of the.
Not at all. So yeah, for sure. And I know everyone's got different faith backgrounds. So we're just going to speak our truth, right? So it may or may not be resonant with you, but I respect all types of faith backgrounds. I grew up agnostic, meaning I knew maybe there's someone out there. My parents, the Chinese, we're both full Chinese. So Chinese people typically aren't too spiritual or not too religious at all. So we grew up with I guess you can call it the religion of hard work. So, go to school, get a good job, that type of thing, be anything you want to be, as long as it's a doctor, lawyer, or engineer.
That's true. It's true.
It's true. So guess what? I was trying to be a medical doctor. I went to UC Berkeley. I was studying biology. Becky was trying to be an optometrist. Also, that's where we met at UC Berkeley as classmates. But it was actually through business that I found faith, because any entrepreneur understands, or anyone that goes through any challenge in life, that we all need help in many areas, right? How many times have we tried to do everything on our own strength and it's just not enough? So we want to seek for outside sources. And long story short, that led me through faith, that led me on a journey. And now I've realized, for me, everything that I coach, it comes from a biblical background. So I hope that's okay with the audience, but
absolutely. Oh, no. I mean, I think that's an important message as well, because there is something that's guiding us. I don't care where you come from, agnostic or not. There's something there guiding us. So, okay, so both of you, so you both met there? Both same background. So one of the things I love, because when I marry couples, There now quite a few Chinese, Koreans also. They believe in a lot of feng shui too. So we're talking about that as well. So yesterday was September 8th. 8 is the infinity number.
Yes.
And love.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I love that. But anyway, I love it. So tell me, the two of you have been married for how many years?
September will be our 8th-year wedding anniversary.
Ironically.
September.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay.
No coincidences.
When? September when?
27.
Okay. Well, congratulations. You have any plans?
Yeah, we're actually going to be celebrating in Europe. We're going to Belgium and the Netherlands for the first time and heading back to France.
Okay.
Spend some good times there. Yeah.
Well, I love that. So I know that both of you, I will get into a bit about your coaching business because I do want you to share with our community. But I want to take a moment and let's just unpack a little bit, talking about relationships. And, as we know today, years ago when I grew up, divorce was still uncommon, at least in the United States. My parents were divorced, and that was like taboo. I went to a Catholic school. People would say, oh, her parents are getting divorced, right? Nowadays, well, first of all, some people don't even get married. It's interesting because I married lots of people that actually have been together 25, 30 years and decide to get married, which is fine. I think whatever commitment works for you, works for you. And I believe in committed relationships. That's just, my platform as well. And, one of the things is I think people today, just because we have internet dating, we have so much going on, feel, well, if that partner doesn't work out, we can always find someone else. You put in a lot of time. So what do you think your strengths are? Either one of you, what do you think your strengths are in your relationships? And then we'll also talk about what are your challenges. But let's start with your strengths.
Yeah, I think based on what you just said is you have to come into the relationship already making a decision, because it's not going to be pretty when you put two imperfect people together, right? We're going to have conflict and disagreement. And one thing that James and I made an agreement in the very beginning is divorce was not an option. Like, no matter how hard it gets, we're going to make it work. And whether it's you change, I change, we both change, like we have one common focus. And I think that really has helped us with the foundation of our relationship is there's no way, like you burn the boats, right? Like you can't turn around and be like, I'm going to go find someone else. Like there's no such thing as like, I'm going to leave you. Like, so we just take that out of our vocabulary. And I think agreeing on that in the very beginning of our relationship has really helped us go through all the challenges we've been through. What do you think?
What do you say, James?
I don't think we've ever said the word divorce to each other, like literally on that point. Like I'm just thinking back, right, for the last 8 years. Now, many times have I pissed her off like crazy, where it's been, tear shed and everything, practically every day. There's sometimes I go a week.
Well, in the beginning of our relationship.
In the beginning, no joke, when we started dating, I made her cry. And this is another thing when it comes to strengths and understandings and kind of going into relationships. Prior to Becky, I've only had one other romantic relationship, and that was, rainbows and butterflies, and it felt like honeymoon, and we never fought. I'm like, that's what it's supposed to be, right? It didn't work out. When I started dating Becky, I was so shocked because literally every day for the first like 6 months, we're fighting every day. I'm like, what the heck is this what a relationship's gonna be like? And I don't know if this stat is still true or not, Maria, but I heard that in a healthy relationship, a quarter of the time is spent fighting. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes, you know what? Because I have heard that. That's the way a relationship grows. However, when you hit 10, 20, 30 years, it gets a lot easier because you're past all those hurdles.
Sweet.
I think that's no, true. This is so true. But I love that. And I love what you're talking about because I think that's important. And what made you, so you said Becky cried a lot, right? So what then kept you in the relationship?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. I think commitment first, right? So when we got into the relationship, I think one of the biggest reasons why relationships fail is there's no definition of what someone's actually looking for in a relationship. If we ask most people, myself included back in the day, what do you want in a significant other? what they're going to typically going to say is someone that makes my heart flutter, someone that's a great conversationalist, someone that hope maybe they're making some good money, right? Someone that can make me laugh. You know, like these types of very, I call it Disney-esque or romanticized types of relationships. But the reality is, and this is saying that my pastor says, is that marriage wasn't made so that we could necessarily just be happy. Marriage was made so that we could be holy. We're like heavenly sandpaper together, right? Because the reality, like what you mentioned, is marriage is one of the most important relationships because it's the only person most people can really truly confide in, and you work on each other. So when it comes to strengths, to go back to even your original question, it's amazing how prior to marriage, I don't know if you've seen this to happen, opposites tend to attract. But when you are married, opposites then attack. So,
Well, I have to tell you, I definitely agree with you. So if you remember in politics, James Carville and Mary Matlin, she worked for Bush, Daddy Bush, and he, of course, was a big advisor to Clinton. Obviously opposites, right? We're talking politics. Oh my gosh. They have been married for 40 some odd years.
wow.
Okay, so I'm sure they've had some lively conversation around the dinner table.
Absolutely.
So, and that's what I love, you know, and I love what you're saying, because I think that is so important, is that you're talking about, listen, not every day is a bed of roses, but I like what you said. Divorce isn't an option. It's like what you're talking about. When that jet takes off, there's a point of no return.
Yes.
That boat takes off, there's a point of no return. So when you make that commitment, I mean, unless you have abuse, you have certain things that are really deal breakers that you can't get through, but you should know that beforehand.
Yeah.
So do you believe now let me throw something at you before we talk about challenges that we go through. I had a beautiful couple yesterday that I married, and they knew each other for a month. So what do you think about people jumping into a commitment? Now, a committed relationship legally.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what's your thoughts? You have both.
I think if you, and this is, it goes back to the previous prompt, which was
What made you
stay together?
Right, during the challenge.
Most people, they take a long time to commit to a relationship because they actually don't know what they're looking for, right? They haven't defined up front. So just a quick story. So for example, my first relationship was that Disney-esque, I just want to have a girlfriend, right? Like that type of a feeling. And if that didn't work out. When that happened, of course, heartbroken. The day afterwards, it was a whole God story, but I fell into church. I was listening to a sermon on finding the love of your life. And it was the first time in my life that I realized that when it comes to marriage or relationship, you should define parameters on what to look for in someone else before you meet them. And I think, and I hear this a lot because I'm kind of a mini matchmaker in my business, but to be honest, I haven't succeeded yet, but I want to. Like it's something I love to do because happy relationships are so great to have, you know? But most people, this is how they think, well, I don't want to be too picky because what if I can't find them? The reality is you're not finding what you're looking for, who you're looking for, because you're not being picky. It's like, if you don't know, if you go shopping, that's why guys, so this is my strength, I think, as a guy. When I go shopping, and I wonder if guys would relate with me on this, I know what I want to buy. So I go into the store, buy it, and I get out. Generalization, don't crucify me for this, but my wife is a little different. I think women generally a little bit different. When they go in for an experience, and they're like, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? And it takes a lot of time. But it's that reality that if you know what you're looking for before you find that, then you know if it's a yes or a no. So for those that get married in a month, if they know what they're looking for, like literally I penned down for Becky, I had 11 points in a notebook on what I was looking for. No joke. No joke.
Yeah, and he showed it to me. And because we were already business partners, we were kind of viewing each other as just friends, right? Almost siblings because we were so close. And so when he told me his list in a significant other, I actually was super shocked because I was like, what's wrong with you? Like, I see you as a friend, right? So like it didn't really connect. And we didn't have any of the butterflies and the feelings, right? And I think a lot of people get into a relationship for the feeling, right? Eventually that will develop, and not to say like, you shouldn't have it in the very beginning, but for us, it didn't happen in the beginning, but it developed over time. But the reason we stuck with each other, and I stuck around, even though he made me cry all the time, is because we made a decision in the very beginning. I was already decided that he was someone that I was looking for. And it goes back to what he was saying in that sermon. Our pastor talked about the 3 most important things in a relationship. Number 1 is spiritually united. You have to believe in the same thing. And number 2 is a life purpose united. So like you have to you don't have to do the same thing. You don't have to be in business together. You can, one person can have a job, or they can have a business. It doesn't have to be the same thing, but you have to want the same type of life. So you're working towards the same life mission together. And number 3 is emotional maturity. And that is so key, because if you're dealing with someone that is just not emotional mature, what happens is you can't talk logic into it, right? So those are the top 3 things that were very, very significant. And James matched all 3. And so all the other issues, we just worked with it, because you can work it out, because it's not big issues,
So I like what you both said, because you kind of answered my question on what your strengths and your challenges, because you've had your challenges. Now, I want to just take this a little step further.
Yeah.
You two are younger, obviously. So my community, including myself, is the reason I talk about love is because I'm a widow. I was married 33 years.
Yeah.
And getting back in the dating world, I've been a widow still for 11 years. Most people said, I'm surprised you haven't met anybody. And the point is, as we talk about being picky, you have to know what you want. And I think that, so let's talk to the community out there, men and women, for a moment. Just change your hats a bit, which about somebody like myself, or a male too, that's looking for that person. But you know what? They recognize that other people haven't done the work on themselves. So when you're trying to vet somebody, right, and get to meet them, I had one person say, well, I'm at a point in life, I'm retired. So what would you say to that? I don't need to work on myself.
Absolutely.
Do you have any thoughts? Any thoughts on that?
So here's a saying from the wellness space that I think carries to this, which is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Gee, how unique, right?
Yes, it's so worth waiting, right? Like the outside of faith, picking a spouse or a relationship is the most important decision anyone can make. And unfortunately, you typically hear more bad stories than good, because if the divorce rate is over 51%, I believe, that means more often than not, there's a negative to that, right? So if you just take a look at the worst case scenario, if a relationship doesn't work out, divorce, the legalities of it, the finances of it, the family of it, the heartbreak of it, it's just not worth it. So if it takes a little bit of time to wait for that right person, then do that. But in the meanwhile, too, what I would say to that person is, just because you're waiting doesn't mean that if you want them to grow, then we need to be the leader by example on that. So when you take a list, so I'd recommend everyone have a list, have your preferences. But when you look at that list, a saying is this: if you want to have a king, you must be a queen, and vice versa. So use that list in the meanwhile as a to-do list for yourself. So if I wanted a healthy spouse, am I the epitome of health? If I wanted someone that could be a great conversationalist, am I working on that? If I want someone that's emotion mature, am I navigating that myself as well too? And I got to make sure that that's fair. So become that person in the meanwhile, and you'll find them at some point in time, and that'll work.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Becky?
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. Like waiting does not mean just sitting there and do nothing and complaining to all your friends that you can't find someone and all the good ones are taken, right? Waiting means working on yourself and being excited and anticipate that, right? Because there are people out there that will meet your criteria, but you have to be working on yourself first.
And you said that is so important, because you're right. The divorce rate is 51%. And when you remarry again, it's 76%.
Oh gosh.
So those statistics, And
Oh,
yes, and this is what I tell people, because you're right, people are right away say there are no good ones out there. Or in Las Vegas, we hear, well, there are great people to date. That's not true. That's
mhm.
not true. It's just a matter of you need to work on your list. And I love that analogy. Work on your list. And if you want to be a good conversationalist, if you want, absolutely healthy. So important. I think that's the key thing to any, because when you are feeding your mind, body, and soul
Mm,
the right things,
yeah,
okay, and that includes what you put in your mouth, right?
yeah.
And what you say and what you consume
Oh, yeah.
makes all the difference in the world. And I
Absolutely.
think that's true. And I think, do you think that as much as we love social media,
Mm.
do you think also, what's your thoughts on social media as you have somebody that's still looking for somebody out there, or in a relationship and not quite happy? Do you think they're just looking at social media and don't seem to realize that some of it is a little bit enhanced?
We're in an overly filtered world where no one puts their worst self on a photo. I was on a live yesterday. I'm like, when was the last time that you put your worst looking photo on social media, right? So it has to be, social media is great. But it has been statistically proven since social media is here, while we're the most connected in the world, technologically wise, we're also the most disconnected at the same time too, because we're all living in these fake worlds. So, but I think it is, you can use it or it can use you. So if you use it and just be mindful, for example, we met through social. This is a relationship, not a romantic relationship, but an amazing one. We're gonna be friends. We're gonna do all of these types of things, right? So, but you use the tool wisely, right? So if you're looking for a spouse, you can use it wisely as well too. But just know that if you meet them in person, they may or may not look exactly or seem exactly like how they might seem. We all got hurt. We're all broken. We're all messed up. So just understand that's the reality of things.
Oh,
Yeah.
but you know what? I think it's important. You said we're all messed up. Well, to work on oneself. And
Mhm.
I totally agree with that analogy. And I just love. So, when was the last disagreement you two had? Let's see. Let's see. What's
Oh,
the last?
one.
No, I don't want to
We
argument.
we have disagreements all the time.
Mhm.
But one thing about me is I forget very easily. So, and I don't keep anything to myself. So if I'm not happy with something, I will tell him and express myself. And sometimes it might not come out in the most elegant and graceful way, but I just get it out of my chest, and I don't hold grudges. So when was the last time? I don't remember. And we don't really
Yesterday.
call it yesterday, but we don't call it like arguments. We call it like
Discussions.
discussions. Like, we're just discussing.
Heated discussions. Pointed discussions. Sometimes painful discussions.
Yeah, but it just really helps both of us sharpen ourselves, right? Like our own character. But also, I think it really helps us understand each other's mindset and what we believe in, where we're coming from. Because when you're communicating with each other, that is the number one reason why a lot of people like feel like they don't have control over their relationships, or they can't, express themselves because they don't know how to communicate it, right?
Yeah.
So, and we had to learn that because we have totally different communication styles. I'm the type, I will vomit everything to you if I'm feeling something, and he keeps everything to himself. So again, we're like very opposite, but a lot of the discussions I think come from like, I would say business related. Like we have like certain disagreements in business, but we always come together and we never go to sleep with the argument. Like, so if we need to talk it out and find a solution, we'll always end the discussion with that. And I think that's really helped us.
We've never gone to bed. Actually, one time it happened, that was bad. But almost every single time before we sleep, it's a rule that we need to resolve the argument, the discussion. We need to forgive each other. And everyone's probably heard this cliche, but it's so true. Lack of forgiveness is like drinking poison, expecting the other person to die. But that's probably one of the biggest roots of issues in a marriage. And honestly, I think most marriages, they end because not necessarily a financial thing, while that might stir up some things, it's emotional things. It's a lack of forgiveness. Oh, they did this and I can't forgive them because of whatever that it is. So that's probably one of the biggest rules we have that's helped us.
I say that in my marriage ceremony. every night, make sure you kiss each other goodnight. It doesn't matter how
Yes.
bad of a day you had. It's very important. You're right. That's part of forgiving. And I
Yeah.
think that's a key thing. Gosh, so I love this conversation. So I've talked a little bit about your business that you both have built together. I'd like to share that with our community here. And if you have anything coming up that they might be interested in, because we're going to share your links as well. So whoever
Awesome.
wants to go for it.
Yeah, most definitely. Our primary business, we're in the wellness space because I think the best way to start changing your life in anywhere, right? We talk about body, mind, spirit, business, all that. But if you can't, you said it well, which is what you put in your mouth. If you can't control this, then it's going to be harder to control this or this heart, mind or heart for those that are listening. And you can't control other people. The only thing you can control is yourself. So our primary business wellness space actually deals with these.
I was looking at that. I said, then
Yeah.
that's not wine bottles.
Not wine bottles.
They're not
Nah, they don't
alcohol
taste like this.
bottles.
I know, but these are, we call these skinny drops endearingly, but it's called their Slenderized program, but they're body balancing drops. You put them on your tongue 3 times a day, and they help you to balance your body's hormones. And when you do that, curbs bad cravings. And the average man or the average person loses around 10 to 20 pounds in a month without crazy exercise.
And no rebound weight.
Yeah.
Because it's healing your body. And I think, and to James's point, like, just because I love that our conversations evolved around love, because if you want love, you have to first love yourself first, right? If you don't feel like you deserve the self-care and the time and putting yourself together, making sure you're sleeping well and putting the right things into your body, like you can't expect love from other people, right?
Yeah.
I have to comment on that briefly, Becky, before I go back to James, because you must have been listening to my talk that I'm going to be giving. I'm going to be at the David Tatiera Experience next
I saw
week.
that.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Payments. And one of the things on it's falling in love with yourself first. And you just you have to peel back people, and it is easier said than done.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I agree with you, but go right ahead. Finish that on your thought about your product. Did you make this product? Tell me a little
We
bit about
partnered with this. So actually, I first heard about this maybe 10 years ago. And I grew up a chubby kid, by the way. So, you know, health and fitness and stuff like that was always a big thing to me. So I've tried all the diets out there. You know, I know to eat right. I know.
Can't tell with the way you, both.
Thank you. Right. You know, and we know we know the right things to do. We know, obviously,
Of course
right?
we do.
But who here that's listening would agree that chocolate still tastes better than a vegetable? it's just the reality of things, right? So I was in a place where I was trying to do everything. I was trying to get to the next level of my fitness and my health, and I just couldn't lose that stubborn fat. And I'm like, food tastes too good, right? So I heard about these. I'm super skeptical on products, but I looked at the clinical trials, the research, the ingredients. And what I loved is that it is actually helping your body balance and get healthy. And as a byproduct, you can lose weight, right? Our goal is not to just get the scale down. There's many ways you can do that, liposuction or crazy diets or whatever, but long-term, will it work? I use this, no joke. I lost 25 pounds in 40 days with no exercise. And I think the biggest miracle, I'm Chinese, so I used to eat white rice every single day. My cravings for white rice went away, for processed junk went away. Literally my entire mindset changed. So since then, that was 8 years ago, I'm still the fittest I've ever been now. My wife used this. You what?
Yeah, I think it mostly to balance my hormones. I had some menstrual pains and stuff. And as a byproduct, I lost 15.6 pounds and got abs for the first time. Like, so I got like healthier in my 30s than when I was in my 20s. And I really felt like now I have control over back in my body, right? And when you feel good, you do good, right? And then
yes,
I'm sharing and helping other people, and you know, just, you know, trading and, you know, appreciation for, you know, so all of it comes together. And so that's why we're so big on like taking charge of your physical health first, and then it will spread into other areas of your life.
I totally agree with you. Now, what about people that are postmenopausal or men that get to a certain age, lower testosterone levels? Tell me.
This is actually best for the perimenopausal, postmenopausal, menopausal woman because it's a hormone balancer. It actually has things to support the thyroid. So we've seen one of our top clients, she now coaches people all throughout the world, but she was going through menopause. And then women, like I just have so much respect for women, by the way, besides childbirth,
So
which is
hard for
already
us.
crazy, you know,
Thank you, right?
seriously. And I'll say this openly, women are way more intelligent than us guys are. All right. We just are, I don't know how, I wouldn't function
Did
without.
everybody hear that? Say that again. Say that one
Women
more
are
time.
way more intelligent than us men, you know. So anywho, but yeah, but it's but you know, going through menopause, that's a whole, you know, guys don't go through that. But through the body balancing, the hormone balancing, we've seen women, besides just the weight loss, things like hot flashes went away. Things like all the night sweats go away, right? All the other stuff like prediabetes and cholesterol. When you balance your body, it's going to start to do everything in a very positive effect. So it's really good for the woman that's going through those times in their life, for sure.
That's actually majority of our clients. So most of our clients are, you know, the younger people are like, I'm just gonna work out, right, and get fit. And so it's, you know, when you get to a certain age, it's when you're like, oh, things are not the same, right?
They're not.
And the body's not working the same, and it kind of brings back your metabolism again, right? So it's just a helpful tool.
And it sounds, you know, I definitely would want the link to that to share with our community out there, because I think it's very important. And I know myself in my 60s, it's a lot. It's
You're
not
not in your 60s, by the way. I still can't believe that. My God.
my late 60s. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah. So to be very honest, and I know that there's a lot of women and men, it's, you know, it's not as we get up in the morning, we have a little bit more aches and pains. And, but I do think, again, that's why I am so, that's what I promote also through my community is healthy and lifestyle, because there's nothing better than feeling good. Nothing trumps feeling good than feeling good.
And you can't.
That's just my saying. It's true.
Yeah.
That's so important. So I'm so glad I got the opportunity to share with our community about what you both do, because you totally, what you do actually is different than what I had thought that both of you were doing. So do you have any events coming up? Do you two ever go on the road? Do you do events? Just, we'd love to see if you have anything to share with our community that I can put in the show notes.
Most definitely. What I recommend is if anyone wants to connect, we're constantly doing meetings, a lot of online stuff. Most of our stuff is online. We're going to some in-person events soon, but for the audience, if anyone wants to learn more about things like these products, or you just want to connect with us, we have a Wellness 360 Facebook community group that we love to offer. Anyone can be a part of it. We have a lot of health information. It's a vibrant community of people just trying to better themselves. So I'd love to drop that link, give that to anybody, and definitely.
How about you? Any thoughts, Becky? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, no, I think the community is a really good start. It's a private community, so you have to, you know, be invited. But if you click on that link and just fill out the form, and you can just say Maria invited you or whoever, and then we'll be able to accept you. But it has a ton of information. We literally have clients that say, I pay a nutritionist $10,000 for this information that I get for free here in the community. And I think that is just a testament of the value that I think they will get. And so I think that's a really good start.
I love that. And you touched on thyroid too, just briefly before we end, because my daughter, she's 38, but she has like periothyroid. They still say she doesn't have issues. So, you know, I'm going to send her over to your community as well.
Please.
So I think that's important. And like I said, it's not just hormonal. Thyroid, the imbalancing, you don't realize that with our glands, how you know, our body functions.
Yes.
Well, okay. So I have to ask you, so James, what are you buying Becky for your 8th anniversary?
Oh, snap.
You can share that on social media?
Her heart again. You know, that's what I'm doing. Well, I'm looking for, and we're very open about things. So I'm looking for, well, we have this whole Europe trip planned out. So it's going to be just a great experience. We're big foodies. So I love to eat. I appreciate that. We're going to be good friends.
I love food. I'm Italian. You talk.
Oh my God. All right. There we go. So
I'm big foodies too, right? Exactly.
yes.
In moderation. Yeah.
Exactly. So we're going to be, France is the home of, you know, restaurants for sure. And for those of you that are familiar with Michelin star restaurant, the grading that they have. So I'm looking to find the right 3-star Michelin restaurant to go to. And hopefully I can book something.
I was going to say, don't you have to book that like way in advance sometimes?
Typically. So Hopefully we'll find a slot somewhere.
Yeah, we're on the wait list for.
It's I'm sure you're going to find some fabulous foods. And if you drink any fabulous wines, they're just, France is, the Loire is one of my favorite areas as far as I haven't been, but their wines are one of my favorite.
Mm.
Everybody out there, you heard what they had to say. It was a great, great conversation. And thank you for going live on your platforms as well, if anybody wants to connect with me. But in the meantime, everybody in the community, both communities, continue to stay healthy, happy, and safe. As I always say, spread love. Have a great day.